Joblessness and poverty are widespread issues in many parts of Sub-Saharan Africa, and they affect youth in particular. While the entire region struggles with high levels of unemployment and economic challenges, certain areas face more acute issues due to factors like population growth, lack of infrastructure, political instability, and inadequate access to education and training. Here are some specific regions in Sub-Saharan Africa where youth are particularly suffering from joblessness and poverty. West Africa. Countries affected: Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Mali. Challenges: West Africa has some of the highest youth unemployment rates in the world. Countries like Nigeria, which has a large population of young people, struggle with a rapidly growing youth population and insufficient job creation. This is exacerbated by political instability, insecurity, especially in regions like northern Nigeria due to Boko Haram, and insufficient access to quality education or vocational training. Rural areas in particular face greater economic challenges due to limited job opportunities and poor infrastructure. Key factors: high population growth, lack of access to quality education, political instability, and poor infrastructure.
Central Africa. Countries affected: Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Challenges: Central Africa has some of the lowest Human Development Index scores and high poverty rates. Youth unemployment is particularly high in countries like the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Chad, where ongoing conflict, corruption, and lack of economic development make it hard for young people to find sustainable work. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, for example, the conflict has disrupted economic activities and displaced millions, leaving many youth with little hope of stable employment. Key factors: political instability, conflict, weak economies, and inadequate education systems.
East Africa. Countries affected: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Somalia. Challenges: East Africa has a rapidly growing youth population, yet it struggles to provide enough jobs. In Kenya, unemployment is a major issue, especially in urban areas where young people migrate seeking opportunities. South Sudan and Somalia suffer from conflict-related displacement, making job creation more difficult. In Ethiopia and Uganda, while there has been some economic growth, youth unemployment remains high due to limited access to education and the mismatch between education and market needs. Key factors: high population growth, rural-urban migration, lack of jobs for educated youth, and conflict.
Southern Africa is home to a mix of high youth unemployment, especially in South Africa, which has one of the highest youth unemployment rates in the world, around 50%. South Africa's youth are particularly affected by a mismatch between the skills they possess and the skills required by the labor market. In Zimbabwe and Mozambique, economic instability, inflation, and lack of investment have contributed to job scarcity for youth. In rural areas of countries like Lesotho and Namibia, young people struggle with poverty due to a lack of infrastructure and resources. The key factors here are skills mismatch, economic instability, limited job creation, and a high dependency on agriculture.
The Sahel region, located just south of the Sahara Desert, is one of the poorest and most vulnerable regions in Africa. High levels of youth unemployment are exacerbated by extreme poverty, insecurity due to militant groups, and a lack of infrastructure. In countries like Mali and Burkina Faso, where conflict has driven displacement, many young people are left without opportunities to work or further their education. The key factors are conflict, poverty, and lack of basic infrastructure.
The Horn of Africa faces high levels of youth unemployment, especially in countries like Somalia and Eritrea, where political instability, war, and drought have limited economic opportunities. In Ethiopia, while there is some economic growth, many young people still struggle with unemployment due to lack of job opportunities in rural areas. Education quality is often low, and there are limited vocational training programs available. The key factors here are conflict, drought, lack of infrastructure, and poor education systems. The Great Lakes region. Countries affected include Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In this region, youth unemployment is high due to limited opportunities for education and the inability of local economies to generate enough jobs for the youth population. Rwanda and Uganda have made efforts to invest in education and entrepreneurship, but many young people still struggle to find work due to low-skilled labor markets and limited resources. Key factors include limited access to education and training, low economic growth, and poverty. Coastal West Africa. Countries affected are Senegal, Guinea, and Gambia. Youth unemployment is a significant problem in many coastal West African countries. While there is some economic activity, it often doesn't translate into widespread job creation. For example, in Senegal and Guinea, many young people turn to the informal sector for work, but this often means unstable, low-paying jobs. Lack of formal education and training programs makes it difficult for many young people to break the cycle of poverty. Key factors include lack of access to quality education, high informal sector employment, and limited job creation in urban and rural areas. Common challenges across Sub-Saharan Africa. Rapid population growth. Many Sub-Saharan African countries are experiencing rapid population growth, which increases the number of young people entering the job market each year. Mismatch between education and job market needs. Many young people are not equipped with the skills needed for the jobs available, leading to high unemployment among educated youth. Limited access to education and vocational training. While education systems are expanding in some countries, quality education and vocational training programs remain out of reach for many youth, especially in rural areas. Political instability and conflict. In many parts of Sub-Saharan Africa, political instability, civil unrest, and ongoing conflict have contributed to the displacement of young people and a lack of economic development. In conclusion, youth unemployment and poverty in Sub-Saharan Africa are widespread, but certain regions are disproportionately affected due to a combination of factors such as political instability, economic stagnation, and lack of access to quality education and vocational training. Targeting these areas with initiatives that provide job skills, education, and support for entrepreneurship could help reduce unemployment and alleviate poverty for many young people across the region.